These precious sisters are the treasure of another man. And he gives that treasure to you to protect. But it's upon correct principle. And when you go in the back door to steal another man's treasure, that is so improper. There are the right ways to do this. That's what this is about. We need to go through the right channels. And when you receive that treasure, and not just pieces of it here and there, the value of it. So go through the right channels.
Hey everyone, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, May 4th, 2023. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you have had a chance to watch my latest video with Emily from the AUB. She is the daughter of the prophet Dave Watson, and she shared her backstory, her story of coming out of the AUB, living in the AUB, the beliefs of the AUB, stuff about Kody Brown and his wives, and a lot more about what isn't on Sister Wives. One of the topics that she brought up is that she's very passionate about is the way that women and children are treated and how they are treated like a number, and how that men in this group really look at the whole number instead of like the actual people. The larger their number, the bigger their kingdom. And so unfortunately, the bigger the families grow, the less these men have connections to their kids, and frequently they just don't have time for all of their wives. We also learned that what happened with Kody and the wives and these marriages and this family breaking up and blowing up is completely normal. We also learned that Kody, if he wanted to find more wives, would be welcome back with open arms into the AUB and could certainly find more women to marry, and therefore could actually also find new brides, and he could get his restored family back. We also learned that some of these polygamists, even once wives leave them, they refuse to acknowledge that the wives have left, and they still consider them eternally sealed to them. And because of that, Kody might still think he has 4 wives. Even if the wives are gone, he might still consider himself having 4 wives for the afterlife so that he still can have his kingdom in heaven. But if Kody Brown wants another wife, he'll have to go back to the church more than likely, because that's where they are. Now, in the AUB, she also shared that women and children are currency. And so women, children can be traded, gifted between men, as whether it's like, I'll give you this if you do this for me, or I want you to have this is my gift to you, and then you get a gift from them. And it can also be something where a wife, who her duty in the AUB is to help go seek a wife for her husband, her wifely duty is to find more wives so that their kingdom can be even bigger, will also do some bidding for currency. And this is where we want to talk about Meri Brown. Now, I want to just back up what I'm saying to you and share with you some actual audio from one of the meetings with the youth back in 2022 from the AUB. I have been able to obtain never before heard audio and video, and this is actually what they tell boys about their girls and what girls mean to dads. Check it out.
Ladies, the modern society has taught us to fight for equality, when it used to be that we held women on a pedestal and we honored them. We honored you. And nowadays, it's not that. We've talked about this kind of before. We fight for equality, and now ladies can sit with men in deplorable situations, and you'd never be there. You'd never find yourself there before. That is a misrepresentation of truth. So stay true to the truths. Find those out for yourself. He asked a lot, a lot more than what's asked. And it was probably one of the best things for me in preparing to marry her. I wrote a, I think it was like 20-page essay. I'm not joking. I he has it all bulleted out here. I kept it because I will be doing this for my daughters. I want to know this man that is coming to take my treasure and hopefully see to an increase.
So the information there, that video actually was filmed in 2022. It was a live stream. The AUB actually had to go live during the pandemic and started sharing a lot of stuff on video, so that if people couldn't make it to video, like make it to actual meetings, they could make sure to watch or tune in when these were going live. And then they were posting them online. And so former members and members that are current have been sending me these videos to just make sure that the public knows what's being told to these girls. And this is being given to a group of like 12 to 17-year-olds. And this is the youth group. And this is one of the youth leaders telling girls that it is a lie from society that they are equal and that they have equal rights, and that it is deplorable to find a woman sitting in a spot with a man that they would never find themselves in. So a woman having a position of management, a woman being able to, I don't know, work outside the home, even though most of these polygamous wives actually work outside the home. Women having positions of power and being able to be elected officials. Like, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about is they want to go all the way back to when women couldn't even have a right to vote, and that when women literally were considered the property of their husbands. And so they indoctrinate the little girls, letting them know you're not equal. You are the property of your father. And it's wrong for you to even think that that's a lie. And then he talks about how I cut off the information about his father-in-law's name and his wife's name. But his father-in-law had given him this list and said, like, I want you to answer all of these questions before you can even consider dating her. Now, this is a man that has multiple wives, and he is in his 30s, and he is telling young kids that, you know, you should consider plural marriage. And in the beginning of this video, I showed you something where he told the boys in this group that you dare start talking to these young girls. You are potentially stealing another man's wife, or you are stealing the treasure of another man. So the girls are viewed as property of their fathers and of their future husbands. And because of that, they are making boys take these very roundabout ways in order to date a girl. The issue here is that they encourage the young girls that are like 12 to 17 to consider marrying married men, because that's going to be what gets them into heaven. And then they tell them that if they want to fulfill their mission and get to the highest level, they need to marry a man that has more than one wife. They also will encourage girls not to marry a man without like any other wives, because then you can't be guaranteed that he will find another wife.
So yeah, if you're asking about somebody who's already married, young ladies, and that would be young or old, the council member generally would say, well, let me talk with him, and then I'll get back with you. And then once he gets back with you, well, either way, on both cases, whether they're married or not, then you can set up the meeting to meet and talk with the person directly. Whew, that's scary.
It's so messy. It is so wrong. Basically, they're just manipulating these little boys to think like, you don't get to talk to these girls because these little girls are our opportunities for our future wives. And then when he starts talking about his wife and what he had to fill out for his father-in-law so that his father-in-law felt comfortable giving his daughter to him, he said, I'm going to be using this on my daughters. And he explained that he has like 5 girls, and said that his precious treasure, he is going to give this to another man to seek an increase. So he's saying, like, I'm not going to give, and seeking an increase means seeking an increase in the number of wives that they have and the higher level of heaven they can obtain. So he's already setting the stage that his little young girls that are like, he's not that old. So I would imagine that his girls are young, probably under 10. And he's talking about how these little girls are going to be used as collateral to him, to another man that will be a gift to them, so that man can seek an increase and get higher up in heaven. And those girls are being treated like property by their dad because they layer it in this language where she's just her little treasure. But think of it, you're a little girl and you're told, your only job is to be a wife and to be a mother, and you are not equal. Don't let society tell you that you're equal. And then if a man wants to date you, he can't just come up to you and try to date you. He has to go through the brethren, and then the brethren will decide whether or not they're going to allow this. And then on top of that, don't steal another man's wife. Don't let another man steal you don't let a young boy steal you. Young men don't steal these girls from other men. And then once my daughters become of age, I'm going to screen all of them to decide if they get to have my treasure. And then that will help the man seek an increase. So the men and women in these groups the women are told that the only way they get to heaven is by going through a man, and the men are told they have to have X amount of wives in order to obtain that level of heaven. And the men get greedy. They want to have the more and more and more because they want to have the biggest kingdom out there. They believe that they can have like their own universes. So this brings me to this is proof that they're treating children like collateral, and I believe grooming kids. And this is the concern where they say that all women have a choice, and I would disagree. But another thing that they teach these girls is that it's once they do become a sister wife, it is their duty to help bring in future sister wives. And so in the same conversation in the beginning, there's a guy basically explaining to the girls, like, if you're going to go after a married man, make sure that you set boundaries with him so that in the future, if you're going to bring in another wife for your husband, you can respect your future sister wives. So don't kiss him before you're married. Don't do this before you're married, because you're going to thank yourself, because you're going to want your husband not to do those with your future sister wife that you bring him.
You might become interested in a man. Perhaps you've watched the way he conducts his life, treats his family, wives, parents, siblings, children, and friends, and you desire to know it is the will of the Lord to pursue this interest. Remember that when you're courting somebody, girls, to hold to a standard that you would want your husband to hold himself to with future sister wives.
Under their doctrine, it is the job of the wife to help sort of bring in the wives. Now, this doesn't always happen, but more often than not, the wifely duty is to help bring the husband an increase. So you hear him say, my daughters are an increase for someone. So that is his commission, or that is his currency. Kody Brown has currency. He's got daughters, most of them of which have decided not to live the principle. So at this point, they're useless. And his boys don't have any value to him because, frankly, they are simply competition to him. So the remaining daughters that he does have under his control are his currency if they so choose to go into polygamy, which, given the fact that he has lost control of most of his other kids, he's likely to go further into control. So those girls don't leave and they stay within the principle. With that said, Meri's job as the first wife, she was supposed to go out and find new wives for Kody. So it was her job to find Janelle, to find Christine. And one way and one thing that they do in these cultures is that wives will try to find other wives as a way to get on the better side of their husbands. So if they're having troubles in their marriages, a lot of times women will try to find a husband a new wife, thinking that that's going to make the husband love them more because they did their wifely duty, and said like it's going to restore and repair their relationships. Another thing that they will do is, because if something were to happen and the division is to happen between some of the sister wives. So in the case of Meri and Christine and Janelle, around 2008, her relationships with Janelle and Christine became so broken and fractured because of some sort of dispute that happened with Meri and the kids. And Christine wrote about it in the book, where she said that she confronted Meri about her getting too harsh with the children, and it really changed their relationship for good. And it really never has recovered from that. And even Janelle has made comments that, the way that Meri treated her along with her kids fractured the relationship. So when Meri's relationship sort of completely fractured after that 2008 period, Meri and Kody were actually like on the verge of divorcing, and she was considering leaving him. Her response and her answer to that was to find Robin. She made it her duty, thinking that she could get better on good. And she writes about this in the book. It seems very obvious that she goes and seeks out Robin, thinking that this is going to restore her marriage, even though she says, I didn't think this was going to fix my marriage. She was already on Kody's list, and she had no allies in her sister wives. So she really was like over on her own island. It was 2 against 1. So for Meri to likely settle the score and have an even playing field, she probably wanted to bring someone in to be on her side and on her team. And so she went after someone who she felt very connected to in Robin. She writes, and Kody writes, about how they were both like love struck with Robin and very much love bombed her into believing that this family was like totally happy and everything was great. She and Kody have this like heart-to-heart conversation about how much they love Robin and how much they need to bring Robin into the family. And then she brings Robin into the family, and then she realizes that, oh my gosh, our relationship isn't getting better. And now I'm getting jealous because I brought in Robin. And even though I'm doing my job as the good wife, and I'm seeking to help him get an increase into heaven, and he's getting his needs met, and he's, I'm becoming more favored by him, our relationship isn't getting any better. It's getting more distant. And now this relationship that I thought I was going to have with Robin is at risk of not happening because I'm jealous and I'm angry and our relationship's not working. Right off the bat, Meri had this intention and belief that that Robin was going to be the person that fixed her relationship with Kody and was going to be the person that fixed the family. And she was indoctrinated to believe through her youth and through the church that it was her job to do this. And she was told that women fix issues and that the more wives, the better their time, like the greater their kingdom in heaven. She was dealing with infertility, so she likely didn't have anybody in her corner. So Christine and Janelle have 12 kids between the two of them, and she's got 1. She's got no one on her side. All the kids don't like her, so she's probably feeling very lonely, thinking that Robin's going to be the answer. And then she finds that Robin and Kody sort of go off and do their onesie-twosie thing, and they leave Meri completely out of the picture. So Meri ultimately is the catalyst for bringing Robin in, which is ultimately the catalyst for the family falling apart. A lot of people blame Robin and say that Robin is the one that broke up this family. I'm going to argue just in general that it's the men and the patriarchy that makes these relationships completely impossible. I'm also going to argue that it's really sad that in the year 2008, a woman in her 40s thought that bringing a man, another wife, like offering up a gift of like a woman on a platter to her husband was going to save her marriage. Like, this is your gift, this treasure I found, which proves in many ways that this currency was Robin. I am going to give you Robin as a treasure because this is my job. I'm supposed to do this according to our faith. And you're supposed to honor and love me and respect me because I'm doing my job. And God's going to give me more blessings in heaven because I'm doing this. How twisted is that? Robin did come in and she did blow up this family and she did become very selfish and she did fall into the same patterns that Emily was talking about where women are fighting for attention. And I don't know if you paid attention in this interview with Emily, but she was talking about the tyrant wives. There are kind of wives that are like the more motherly wives, and then there are the wives that seek to cause consternation and destruction in families simply because their needs are not being met. This is not a product of these women are vindictive. In fact, I would argue that all of these women would probably be really good women outside of polygamy. But polygamy puts women in competitive roles and they're all competing for the same resources. And Robin walked into a situation where she was the low man on the totem pole and she needed to divide and conquer to get what she needed. And there's a lot of women like Robin. And I know she thinks that Robin is very controlling, and I would agree. She also thinks that Robin is more of a tyrant woman, and I think she is too. What Robin did was what a lot of the tyrant wives do, and they need their husbands to be there. So they find reasons constantly to need their husbands, to demand their husbands take all their time and resources, and like, I've got an emergency, and if I have an emergency, you're going to come and get to me. Okay, so Robin learned from other sister wives and from the culture that if she acts this way, Kody's going to respond. And then Robin gets what she needs, what she wants, at the detriment of everybody else. And Kody's allowing it to happen. And as she said in her interview, the wives are all competing to be who gets to be the favorite wife, because who gets the favorite wife gets the best food, the best resources, the most money, the nicest houses. the nicest gifts, the nicest vacations if they get to go on them, and they're treated better and their kids are treated better. And if you're not the favorite wife, your kids are neglected and they might not get fed and they might have to go on food stamps and they might not get to, be treated well. And she believes, based on her experience, that Christine's kids were by far the most neglected, and Christine was by far put out to the pasture as far as like not being the favorite wife and not giving Kody what he needed. And so Christine's kids, by product of Kody not liking her as much, her kids are treated like garbage. And that's why you're seeing her kids speaking out about how terrible things were. Christine was already being treated like that before Robin came around. This family was already in chaos before Robin came around. Meri just made the situation more complicated because her faith told her that if she gave him a gift, her blessings and increase and her happiness and everything would be better. So Meri's following bad doctrine, bringing another woman into a situation which becomes more competitive for resources they're already slim at having. And then Kody finds this new toy friend that Meri gives him to be the most alluring of all, because this one gives him what he needs and is kissing his ass. So ultimately, Meri's decision to follow bad doctrine is truly what causes the ripple effect of what happens. But it's Kody who believed he was entitled to that gift and made Meri believe that she needed to give him that gift for their relationship to be restored, as well as Kody and that patriarchy telling Meri that as long as she did what she was supposed to do as a godly wife, that she would get blessings in heaven. So is it Meri's fault? No. Meri's indoctrinated and brainwashed, and she brings in Robin, who ends up blowing up the family, but ultimately it falls on the church and their cult for giving them these awful teachings. And at the root of all of this is there are a ton of kids in this family that didn't get the resources and the food and the education that they needed. They didn't get the attention that they needed from their father. They didn't get their needs met. And so as Gwendolyn is speaking out more, listen to what she's saying. And I saw a lot of people in the comments of that video basically say like, oh, Gwendolyn's going to be the one that kind of blows this whole situation up. And maybe Gwendolyn will be a truth teller, but I will say this. I would encourage any of the Browns, if they ever watch this channel, to really consider therapy. One of the things that has helped Emily tremendously is she has therapists. She does EDMR. She has been going to therapists every single week, and it's helped her process and get to the place where she is today. And she would not be able to speak out and speak so eloquently without that help. She's going to come back onto this channel. She's going to answer more of your questions, and we are going to have her tell you guys more about how she left and how hard that was. But I think looking to the Browns to actually be the honest ones here, they're probably not. They have contracts with TLC and they have an image to maintain. If you want to know the true stories, make sure to watch the videos. I'm going to be having more people from the AUB on this channel. And also, if you are from the AUB and if you are someone that's stuck in a polygamous family and you need help, there is help available. You can contact Holding Out Help. You can also contact the DV hotline, the national hotline, if you need a shelter. So there's shelters and there's also like nonprofits that can help you. There are resources available. I will include all of those in the description box below, and there is freedom on the other side of this. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye guys.